Desmond wiped the sweat from his forehead as the afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the construction site. At 95 degrees, with no shade in sight, the day felt endless. His hands, calloused and bleeding from the rough work, were a testament to the life he'd been living, one of struggle, one of barely getting by, but he needed this job. His mother was sick, and the medicine cost everything he made and then some. As he walked home through the wealthy district, he couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between his world and theirs. Big houses with perfect lawns stretched out on either side of the street, each one a monument to a life he could barely imagine. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on a bench in the town square, reading a book, and the late afternoon sunlight caught her hair in such a way that it looked like spun gold. Desmond found himself unable to look away. When she glanced up from her book, their eyes met, and she smiled. In that moment, his heart stopped. "Hi," she said simply, and with that one word, everything changed. "I'm Elena." Desmond tried to speak, but his mouth had gone completely dry. "Desmond," he finally managed, his voice barely above a whisper. She patted the bench beside her in invitation, and he sat down, suddenly very aware of how his dusty work clothes looked next to her clean summer dress. It felt shameful, but when he asked what she was reading and she showed him a tech magazine, all his self-consciousness began to melt away. "I love learning about innovation," she said, her eyes sparkling with genuine passion. "Coding, artificial intelligence, the future, it's all so fascinating." Desmond listened as if his life depended on it. Because maybe, in a way, it did. They talked for 2 hours, and not once did she seem to care about his dirty clothes or the fact that he was clearly from a different world. She cared about his mind, his thoughts, his dreams. When the sun began to set, she stood reluctantly. "I have to go, my father will worry." "Can I see you again?" Desmond asked, hope and fear warring in his chest. She hesitated, and something dark crossed her face. "It's complicated. My father is particular." "I don't care," Desmond said with all the conviction in his heart. She smiled sadly. "You will," and then she was gone, leaving him alone on that bench with a feeling that his life had just changed forever. Desmond returned to the square every day for a week, but Eleanor never came. He began to think he'd lost her before he'd ever really had her. Then, on the 8th day, she appeared, looking worried and scared in a way that made his stomach drop. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "My father found out I was talking to someone. He asked questions." Desmond's throat felt tight. "Who is your father?" Eleanor took a deep breath, and he could see her steeling herself for his reaction. "Richard Whitmore." The name hit him like a physical blow. Richard Whitmore, the mayor, the most powerful man in town. Desmond felt the world tilt beneath his feet. "I'm the daughter of the mayor," Eleanor said quietly. "And you're a construction worker," he finished for her. "Nobody." She grabbed his hand with surprising force. "Don't say that. You're not nobody to me." But they both knew the truth that hung unspoken between them. Her father would never approve, never in a million years. "Then we keep it secret," Desmond said, surprised by the determination in his own voice. Eleanor's eyes widened. "We can't." "We can," he insisted. "I don't care what your father thinks. I only care what you think." She was quiet for a long moment, searching his face as if looking for any sign of doubt. Then she squeezed his hand and said, "Okay." They met in secret for 3 months after that, coffee shops across town, late-night walks in the park, anywhere her father's watchful eyes couldn't reach. Desmond fell deeper in love every single day. Her laugh, her intelligence, the way she saw the world, everything about her captivated him. But the hiding was killing him. He wanted to walk with her in daylight, hold her hand without fear, meet her parents properly as the man who loved their daughter. One evening, Eleanor came to him with an idea, her voice excited in a way he hadn't heard before. "The house needs a laundry worker. My mother's looking to hire someone." Desmond frowned, not understanding. "Laundry? You'd be in the house," she explained quickly. "We could see each other every day. And my father has a computer room, books about technology, programming, everything. You could learn." Every fiber of Desmond's pride screamed at him to say no. But then he looked at her face, at that hopeful, beautiful face that had become his entire world, and heard himself say, "Okay, I'll do it." The Whitmore mansion was in all his 20 rooms. a fountain in the front, and an air of old money that made Desmond feel impossibly small as he walked through the door for his interview. Mrs. Whitmore was kind but distant in the way that rich people often were, explaining that the pay was minimal but he would get room and board and free meals. Desmond nodded, not caring about the money. He didn't care about anything except being close to Eleanor. He started the following Monday, and the work was simple enough: sorting clothes, washing, folding, ironing, but it was deeply humiliating. He had a college degree, not from a fancy school, but he wasn't stupid, and yet here he was, washing the mayor's underwear. Eleanor would sneak down to see him whenever she could, stealing quick kisses in the laundry room, having whispered conversations, grabbing stolen moments that felt both precious and painful. "I'm sorry," she'd say, guilt written all over her face. "Don't be," he'd reply. "This is temporary." But he wasn't sure he believed his own words. 3 months into the job, something changed. Desmond found the computer room late one night when he couldn't sleep. The room was magnificent: 3 computers, shelves upon shelves of books about programming, web development, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Everything Eleanor had talked about that first day was right here. He picked up a book on Python programming with shaking hands. This was the mayor's private study. If he was caught, he'd be thrown out immediately. But he opened the book anyway and started to read. From that night forward, Desmond studied every night from midnight until 4 in the morning. He'd sleep for 3 hours, then work all day. His eyes were constantly red and burning, but he couldn't stop. Eleanor noticed, of course. "You look exhausted," she said one afternoon, concern etched on her face. He smiled despite his fatigue. "I'm learning." Her face lit up with understanding. "The computer room?" When he nodded, she kissed him with such pride and joy that he felt like he could conquer the world. The books became his obsession. Python, JavaScript, React, Node, JS. He consumed everything with a hunger he'd never known. After 6 months, he started building things. Small programs at first, then bigger ones. He built a website for a local charity for free, just to learn, then a scheduling app for the church. People started talking about this mysterious developer who was creating amazing apps and giving them away. He never told anyone his name. He was still just the mayor's laundry guy. 1 year into his time at the mansion, Desmond had an idea that wouldn't let him go. Small businesses everywhere were struggling with inventory, tracking stock, managing orders. The existing software was prohibitively expensive and unnecessarily complicated. What if he could make something simple and affordable? He spent 3 months building it, surviving on coffee and Eleanor's encouragement. She would bring him food and sit with him while he coded late into the night. "What will you call it?" she asked one evening as he typed furiously. He thought for a moment. "Inventory flow. Simple, clean, perfect." He launched it online for $50 per month, a fraction of what competitors charged. The first month, nobody noticed. The second month, he got 3 customers. The third month, 30. By month 6, he had 300 customers, bringing in $15,000 per month. He was making real money, more than he'd ever imagined possible. But he didn't tell anyone, not yet. It wasn't enough yet. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. Mayor Whitmore came home early and found Desmond in the computer room. The door swung open, and there stood the mayor, his face red with rage. "What are you doing in my study?" he demanded. Desmond stood up, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might break through his chest. "Sir, I can explain." "You're fired," the mayor said flatly. "Get out of my house." "Father, no." Eleanor appeared in the doorway, her face pale with shock. "Stay out of this, Eleanor." "I won't," she said, her voice shaking but determined. "Desmond has been learning, growing. He's been." The mayor's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You knew about this?" Then, as understanding dawned, his face went white. "Eleanor, tell me or not." She stepped closer to Desmond and took his hand. And in that gesture, she told her father everything. "I love him," she said clearly. The words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. The mayor looked at Desmond with real contempt in his eyes. "You think you're worthy of my daughter, a laundry boy?" The words cut like knives, but Eleanor pleaded, "Father, stop." "No," Desmond said quietly, when Eleanor looked at him in confusion. he continued, his voice stronger now. He's right. I'm not worthy of you. Not yet. He looked directly at the mayor, but I will be. He turned to Elena, taking her face in his hands. I love you more than anything in this world. But I need to do this right. He kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of her hair one last time. And then he walked out of the mansion. Desmond moved into a tiny apartment, one room. A hot plate for cooking, a mattress on the floor. But he had his laptop, and he had his dream, and somehow that was enough. He worked 20-hour days building, improving marketing. Inventory flow was growing exponentially. 500 customers, then 1,000. Then 5,000. He hired his first employee. Then 5 more. He moved into a real office. Nothing fancy, but it was his. Elena tried to contact him constantly, texts, calls, emails. He responded because he couldn't bear to ignore her completely, but he kept his distance. I need to do this, he told her, please understand. She did, even though it hurt them both. I'll wait, she promised. 2 years after leaving the mansion, everything changed. A major retail chain contacted Desmond. They wanted inventory flow for all 300 of their stores. The contract was worth $5 million. Desmond sat in his office, staring at the number on the screen, unable to quite believe it was real. He'd done it. He was rich, successful, worthy. He picked up his phone and dialed Eleanor's number with trembling fingers. Hello? That voice? God, he'd missed that voice. It's me, he said. There was a silence, then Desmond. Can I see you, tomorrow? Yes, she said immediately, her voice breaking. Yes, 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 yes. They met at the same bench in the town square where it all began. Elena was even more beautiful than he remembered. And when she saw him, she ran. He caught her in his arms, and they held each other for a long time, neither wanting to let go. I missed you so much, she whispered against his chest. I missed you too. They sat on their bench, and he told her everything, the company, the growth, the contract. Her eyes sparkled with pride as she listened. I always knew you could do it, she said. Desmond reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Elena gasped as he opened it to reveal a simple diamond ring. Nothing ostentatious, just perfect. Eleanor Whitmore, will you marry me? Tears streamed down her face. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed right there in the square where anyone could see. No more hiding. I need to talk to your father, Desmond said after a moment. Eleanor tensed. Are you sure? I'm sure. The next day, they drove to the mansion, and Desmond's heart raced with every mile. But he wasn't the laundry boy anymore. He was a successful entrepreneur, a millionaire, someone Eleanor's father couldn't simply dismiss. The mayor answered the door, his expression cold and unwelcoming. Eleanor, then he saw Desmond, and his jaw clenched. What is he doing here? We need to talk to you and Mother, Eleanor said firmly. Mrs. Whitmore appeared behind her husband with a smile that faltered when she saw Desmond. They all moved to the sitting room, formal and uncomfortable, and the mayor sat in his chair like a king on a throne. Well? He demanded. What is this about? Desmond stood, and Eleanor stood with him. Sir, I know you think I'm not good enough for your daughter. The mayor said nothing. 2 years ago. You were right. I was a laundry worker. I had nothing. I was nobody. The mayor's expression remained unchanged. But I've built something, Desmond continued. A software company called Inventory Flow. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes widened. I've heard of that. We use it at the Charity Foundation. Desmond nodded. We have 10,000 customers now. We just signed a $5 million contract. Last year, our revenue was $15 million. The room fell silent. The mayor leaned forward slowly. What are you saying? Desmond took Eleanor's hand. I'm saying I love your daughter. I've loved her since the moment I met her. I'm asking your permission to marry her. The mayor stood and walked to the window, his back to them, for a long moment. Nobody spoke, the tension thick enough to cut. You think money makes you worthy? He asked finally, still not turning around. Desmond took a breath. No, sir. Love makes me worthy. My commitment to her makes me worthy. The fact that I'm willing to work every day to make her happy, that makes me worthy. The money just means I can provide for her and give her the life she deserves. The mayor turned around, his expression unreadable. When I threw you out of my house, I thought I'd seen the last of you. I thought you'd slink away and give up. He walked closer, but you didn't. You built something, made yourself into someone. He looked at Elena, then back at Desmond. My daughter is stubborn. She's been absolutely miserable these past 2 years missing you. Mrs. Whitmore nodded in agreement. Absolutely miserable. The mayor extended his hand, and Desmond shook it, hardly daring to believe what was happening. If you hurt her, the mayor said seriously, if you ever make her cry, I don't care how much money you have, I will destroy you. I would expect nothing less, sir. Desmond replied. A smile tugged at the mayor's lips, the first smile Desmond had ever seen from him. Welcome to the family. 6 months later, they were married in a beautiful ceremony held in the town square where they first met. Eleanor wore her grandmother's dress, and Desmond wore a tailored suit, his first expensive purchase. The mayor walked Eleanor down the aisle, with tears actually streaming down his face. When he placed her hand in Desmond's, he whispered, "Take care of my little girl." "Always," Desmond promised. As they exchanged vows, Desmond's voice shook with emotion. "You saw me when I was invisible. You loved me when I had nothing. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I promised to spend every day earning that faith." Eleanor was sobbing happy tears. "You taught me that love isn't about status or money. It's about seeing someone's soul, their potential, their heart. And you have the biggest heart I've ever known." They kissed, and everyone cheered, even the mayor. 5 years later, Desmond stood in his office with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Inventory flow was now worth $200 million, with offices in 12 countries and 300 employees. But that wasn't what made him proud. He looked at the photo on his desk, Eleanor holding their daughter, little Maya, who was 2 years old, with her mother's eyes, his smile, and apparently the mayor's stubbornness. The door opened, and Eleanor walked in with Maya on her hip. "Daddy," Maya squealed, and he scooped her up, kissing her cheek. "How are my girls?" "Hungry," Eleanor said with a smile. "Your father invited us for dinner." Desmond raised his eyebrows. "Again?" "That's the third time this week." Eleanor laughed. "He loves Maya. And he likes you now. Shocking, I know." As they drove to the mansion, Desmond thought about that first day when he was just a construction worker covered in dust, too afraid to even talk to the beautiful girl on the bench. "What are you thinking about?" Eleanor asked. He smiled. "That bench in the square." She reached over and took his hand. "Best decision I ever made, sitting down to talk to you." "Best decision I ever made was having the courage to say hello," he replied. Maya babbled happily in the back seat, oblivious to how close she came to never existing. When they pulled up to the mansion, the mayor was on the front steps waiting. His whole face lit up when he saw Maya. "There's my grandbaby." Maya reached for him, and he took her gently, his eyes soft with love. Then he looked at Desmond. "Son," he said, and that would still caught Desmond off guard every time. "Sir," Desmond replied automatically. "Richard," the mayor corrected. "Call me Richard. We're family now." Inside, Mrs. Whitmore had cooked a feast. They sat around the table laughing, talking, and sharing stories. The mayor told Maya about when her mother was little, and Eleanor rolled her eyes but smiled the whole time. After dinner, the mayor pulled Desmond aside. "I owe you an apology," he said seriously. Desmond was surprised. "Sir, I mean Richard. When you were working here in my house," the mayor said, "I saw you as less than, as beneath us." He looked Desmond directly in the eye. "I was wrong. You were never beneath anyone. You just hadn't found your path yet." Desmond felt emotion rising in his chest. "Thank you for changing your mind, for giving me a chance." The mayor shook his head. "You didn't need me to give you anything. You took it. You earned it. That's what I respect most about you." They rejoined the family, and Eleanor was putting Maya to bed in the guest room, the same room Desmond used to have when he was the laundry guy. He stood in the doorway, watching his wife sing to their daughter. His company was successful. He was wealthy beyond his wildest dreams. But this moment, this family, this was what made him truly rich. Eleanor looked up, saw him watching, and smiled that smile, the one that started everything. And Desmond smiled back, knowing that every sleepless night had been worth it. Every humiliation, every moment of doubt, all of it had led here to this perfect, impossible life. Love had made him rich, not money. love, and that was a wealth that could never be taken away.